Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, we're going to be finding out what happens if you return to the old Civil War battlefields and do nothing but stand still and listen. Now, the reason I wanted to try this experiment is because someone on the Red Dead Mysteries subreddit page, a user Kale_007, explains how he heard dialogue at Bulger Glade involving General Harris. Now, if you don't know who General Harris is, he was actually one of the Civil War generals that led an attack at Boulder Glade and at Fort Brennett. However, in his post on that subreddit, he didn't provide any audio or video footage. So I was a little bit skeptical, so I wanted to try this out for myself because I thought that would be pretty cool, and it would also match up with things that Rockstar have done in the past. Like, for example, after you beat the game, if you return to the old campsites as John Marston, you'll hear the audio dialogue of Arthur and the old members of the gang. So I figured that this would be something similar, that Arthur might have some connection to the old Civil War battlefield. Now, on my way there, I actually ran into something that I had never discovered before, and that was a campsite being occupied by the Lemoyne Raiders. And they were having a very interesting conversation. Take a listen to this right here.
What the hell's wrong with you all? You hardly said a word.
Just feels like we ain't getting nowhere. It's the end of the century. It seems like we ain't much further on than we was in 65.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not. We can still live free. We can still say we don't recognize you or answer to your laws. Better to be one man living the truth than a million living a lie. Let me tell you something. Now, you all know that most of us old-timers, we fought alongside each other. 3rd Lemoyne Regiment. The summer of '62. We was hunkered down by Copperhead Landing for weeks. It was a terrible time. It was terrible. Food was rotten. Humidity was unbearable. Nothing we had ever got dry. But we knew that sooner or later the enemy would be coming down the Lanahachi if they wanted to take Saint Denis. And sure enough, one morning, we woke to the distant sound, the boom of a cannon. Next thing you know, there's grenades raining down on us, modified artillery shells, leave a man with the most horrific wounds. That's like nothing you ever seen. And then I get blown up into the air, and I'm as high as a house. And then everything goes black. Then I come to in a cloud of smoke. I think I must be at the gates of hell. And then it clears. And I see a swarm of them damn blue bellies. They're not 20 feet from me. And I ain't got no rifle. I ain't got no gun. I ain't got no nothing. So I just turn and I run at them. And they raise their rifles and they fire, but it don't make no sound. Their powder was too damn. So I get in there and I take them with my fist one by one until I know they're dead. And I just walk out of there as calm as the night. Something's only lost if you let it be. And as far as I can tell, you're all still breathing, even though you're a bunch of lifeless saps. So buck the hell up. You hear me?
So even though that's not the audio and dialogue I think this user was talking about, this is still an interesting conversation that I had never stumbled upon before. You can also loot the rest of their camp. You can kill them off if you want. There's a couple of interesting things here, and if you do decide to hang around for a bit, there will be an extra patrol of Lemoyne Raiders that end up sort of coming around and discovering that you just killed their friends. But anyways, getting back to the main topic at hand here, I went to go check out Bulger Glade. And I was in the middle of the battlefield, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to replicate the same dialogue and noise that user on the Reddit talked about. So at this point, I was a little bit skeptical, and I had assumed that maybe the individual just heard something else that was going on in the area. And there's two examples of what I think could happen. The first actually involves the abandoned church that's close by to Bulger Glade, the battlefield, where you'll actually find Lemoyne Raiders talking to each other, and they tell yet another story.
Wish someone comes. Tired of sitting in this heap already. Smoldering waste that it is.
Bet this old church was pretty in the day, before the usurpers got their hands on it.
Wasn't the blues. We were storing powder here. Someone dropped a Lucifer and that was that.
It worth the traitors?
I guess we wouldn't have had powder there, they hadn't been no war. And that feller wouldn't have dropped his match.
I hate that scum. They ruined everything.
Better keep your eyes open. Anyone comes sightseeing, they get in the Lemoyne welcome.
That's my first theory right there, is that individual overheard that. My second theory is that they overheard a chance encounter that occurs where some Lemoyne Raiders are actually having rifle practice.
Oh, hell, someone showed up. What you looking at? March along.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
Last chance to walk.
So maybe that explains why he heard the shooting and the dialogue, because it probably came from Lemoyne Raiders that were having, again, some sort of target practice. So I was kind of writing this off as a fail on my part, and maybe just a coincidence on the part of the individual that posted this on Reddit. However, just a couple of days ago, there was sort of a follow-up to this. Another user, Geralt, posted this. He said, "Random gunshots heard at Fort Brennard. I wonder if there is more we can discover through these events." And unlike the first post, he posted video, and I'll actually share that on the screen for you guys right now. Take a listen to this and see if you can hear the gunshots he's talking about. Okay, so that is a bit more interesting, and it does sort of sound like it's the gunshots of ghosts, and maybe the soldiers of the past that are actually involved or were at the Battle of Fort Brennan. So after seeing this latest post, what I did is I actually went to Fort Brennan myself to see if I could hear the exact same gunshots, but unfortunately, I could not hear anything. So this was starting to frustrate me at this point, that multiple people had heard these various encounters, but when I visited, I wasn't able to hear anything. So I was starting to think, okay, does something have to be triggered in order for this to spawn? And I was trying to think of the couple of things that could have happened that could trigger these gunshots to occur. The first is maybe the progression through the story. So the first time I visited, I was in Chapter 3. The second time I visited, I was in Chapter 6. So clearly, if it was some sort of progression, you think that I would have at least been able to hear it in Chapter 6. That wasn't the case. The next thing I thought of was maybe finding some of the important collectibles. So, for example, in the Civil War fort, you can find a Civil War hat, a Civil War knife. You can also find a note that explains the battle that sort of occurred there. I collected all of those. Still couldn't hear the dialogue and the audio at the Civil War base. And as far as the battlefield goes at Bulger Glade, the only other thing I could find was the story of Martha and Garfield. And we had covered that in a previous video. It's the soldier that gets impaled to the tree. I had already found him before. And as you saw in this video, I encountered the Lemoyne Raiders that were stationed nearby, so I had already dealt with them. So I really wasn't too sure what was going on here and why I wasn't able to hear these things. So I have a couple of theories here. Number one is that these are just incredibly odd coincidences, especially with the first post where there was no audio or video proof. That could have been anything. And as far as the second video goes, it did sound like gunshots, but who's to say that isn't coming from another random event? Or maybe it just sounds like gunshots, but it's something else. Just something to think about right there. But as always, I encourage you guys to try something out like this for yourself. Go to these locations, wait around, see if you can hear any of these audio cues, and then report back to this video in the comments down below and let us know what you found. Is there the ghost of the Civil War soldiers that can be found at these locations? I think that would be pretty cool. So as always, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about this mystery and more. If you did go to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And remember to subscribe if you guys are new or you want to stay up to date with all the Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5 videos that I'm going to be doing here on the channel. But of course, as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.